Welcome back here to stevedeace.com, and over the course of the next couple of days, we're going to do something a little bit different and a little bit personal. I've got here with me my good friend Jake Velie, who over the last few years is one of the huge reasons why I don't look the way that I used to look in these pictures that are behind me. And about 4 years ago, I went to Jake and I said, listen, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I had tried to get healthy in the past. I try not to say lose weight, because one thing I learned from Jake is it doesn't really matter how much you weigh. It really matters more so how healthy you are. And, you know, I finally came to Jake and I tried some other opportunities in the past, joined health clubs, tried Atkins and different kinds of diets, trying to finally get back to the sort of health that I had when I was younger. And I don't know if you remember this or not, Jake, but when Amy got pregnant with our third child and I found out it was going to be a boy, that was sort of a huge motivator for me, because I thought, crap, man, I don't want to be that kind of dad that's just slovenly, a slob on the couch, can't get up and break his foot off in his son's backside when he needs it, or, you know, I don't want my kid thinking he can take me when he's 10.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there is that natural masculine competitive thing, and that was sort of the thing that finally got me over the top when I darkened your door 4 years ago and I said, hey, I am hopeless, see if you can do something about this. So sort of take us back to that moment 4 years ago when I walked in and just said, hey, can you change my life? Can you make me healthier than I used to be? And sort of what was going through your head at that time?
Well, I mean, it was you know, a calm winter's day, and it was Steve Deace for the first time, and obviously at that point in time you weighed a lot more. I think at that time you were pretty close to about 350 pounds.
Yeah, look behind us.
Yeah, the pictures will reflect. And Steve was ready to turn things around, and I was fortunate enough to be in the position to help him out. And at that point, there was a lot more going on than just cosmetics.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of taking the hood off the trunk, or off the engine, looking what was inside, and we did blood tests, and we kind of took a whole look at your entire health, and that's when we found out that a lot of the lab levels and blood pressure, a lot of the things that most of you would go into the doctor and hope that were in normal range, Steve's stuff was not in normal range.
As Al Gore once said, everything that was supposed to be up was down, and everything that was supposed to be down was up, right?
That's exactly right. So in a traditional situation, Steve would have been put on probably 4 to 5 different medications at that point in time.
And one of your doctors at first wanted to put me on a couple of medications.
There was a few different kind of risky type things that you can kind of go borderline one way or another, and obviously we live in a very litigious society, so you don't want to get yourself in trouble. So some recommendations were made, but you chose to say 12 weeks, we're going to give it 12 weeks, and we're going to see how it goes. So that's what we did. We got all the levels taken, we kind of put them up on a board, and we said 12 weeks from now we're going to take the natural approach. We built a program for you, and we went, and basically the rest is history.
And one of the things I learned going through this with you guys, and really you never stop doing this, there are phases. There's been times I've done a really, what I describe as a militant phase, the first 12 weeks.
Sure.
Last year we were getting ready to take a huge family trip to Disney World, and I knew it was going to be 95 degrees every day, and I was going to walk 3 to 5 miles in that heat every day, so I wanted to kind of go through another militant phase again. And then there's what I call the maintenance phase, which I just try to do no harm and just maintain the progress I've already made. But one of the things I learned going through this with you guys when we first started this is the huge misnomer that a lot of people think that because they're overweight, that means they're unhealthy.
Right.
When really the being overweight is the byproduct of being unhealthy.
Right.
And all those things on all my lab works that showed up that were not good was cause for inflammation, and that's what caused a lot of the huge weight gain that I had.
Right. A lot of people don't understand that the symptoms that we pay attention to today, that we get medications for today, aren't really the actual. It's not the cause of the problem. If you have high blood pressure, it's not that high blood pressure is not actually the disease. There's something actually causing it. So what our focus has been from the very, very beginning was simply don't get distracted by the symptoms, but to use symptoms as they were designed to be used, which was signs to be able to pay attention to a certain area that's calling for change and calling for help, And that's what our entire health approach has been from the very beginning, is don't focus as much on the weight, focus on the underlying health issues that maybe excess body fat is showing us. And what we found is, in the vast majority of our cases, and you were just one of thousands of people who we've worked with over the past 5 years, that health in itself is accomplished well before your ideal body frame. And that's a beauty. That's a beautiful thing, because many people out there have been beating their bodies down for 10, 20, 50, a lot of years. And they kind of hesitate on making lifestyle changes because they think it's going to be so hard. And the neat thing is it actually, I mean, as you showed, it was 12 weeks to an entirely new body. There were functions and systems that were not going right, and in 12 weeks they corrected themselves.
And I was frustrated even at the end of the 12 weeks because I had only seen moderate changes in what you describe as the cosmetic, the appearance. And it's when we ran those labs, and looks can be deceiving. And depending on what kind of level of self-esteem you have, where you're at in life, you may look in a mirror and see something that may or may not represent what truly is there. But the statistics, the blood work doesn't lie.
No.
And when we ran that blood work after 12 weeks, we were amazed at that time at what we had seen. And over the course of the last 4 years, I've had numerous different checkups. We recently formed a new company that SteveDeace.com is a part of, called the Veritas Group. Part of that is, hey, when you run your own company, your board of directors comes to you and says, we might want to insure you, since you're the company, if you get hit by a bus, the rest of us don't get what we invested in this.
Sure.
So we had to go through some life insurance aspects and go through the blood work. And, then I had a nurse come to my house just a few weeks ago and run through the physical again. My blood pressure was like at 110/70.
Yeah.
I got a resting heart rate that almost a triathlete has. And that's where you would look at me right now, and if you didn't see me in context of the pictures behind me, you'd look at me right now and say, that's a guy that probably lose 30 to 40 pounds.
Sure.
But you would have no idea how much progress we had made getting to this point,
Right.
and the positive changes that we saw from the inside out. And we've been able to maintain that for the last few years. And I think that's really the important thing here, that a lot of people are overlooking. And one of the reasons, this is why I wanted to talk to you about this today, because tomorrow we're going to discuss, you hit plateaus whenever you're trying something new. The last few months, I felt like I kind of hit a plateau, so I came back to you and said, hey, I need you to kick my butt again. And tomorrow we're going to talk about exactly what you're doing with that and how that's working through and what we hope to accomplish with that. But one of the things I thought we could talk about today, Jake, is, if people are looking to popular culture to determine what is healthy, we're going to have a lot of issues with that. First of all, Victorian England, just a few centuries ago, being overweight was considered attractive.
Yep.
A woman who was overweight was a commodity because that meant she came from money, she could eat some real food. Being waif-like, heroin chic, like we see a lot of these models nowadays, has not always been in Western culture what has been deemed attractive. So we have to be very careful about how we perceive health based on what pop culture views as attractive or beautiful or sensual. That may not necessarily mean anything going on from the inside out. A lot of these models, they may look great on the outside, but they chain smoke and their diet consists of salsa.
Yeah.
That's not very healthy, is it?
Well, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about as the subject matter kind of goes on, as we start to explore what health is in the human body, as well as what health is in the American home. And obviously what is contrary to popular belief right now is if you look at what's going on in our health system, we obviously have a healthcare system that's spinning out of control, and that's not because no one's using it. It's because we have such high utilization, and people are sick. Our kids are sick. We've got constant, frequent sickness, and there's chronic sickness, and there's acute sickness, and it's just popping up everywhere. And for a lot of you, you may not have even kind of stopped to realize it, but you need to just kind of stop for just a second and realize that the level of health that we're experiencing in our country right now is not acceptable, and it's not as bad in other parts of the world as it is here. So what we think of as America being the most developed country on the face of the earth and the most medically advanced isn't producing the type of health that I think all of us want for our homes. So that's definitely another kind of another area of commentary that we're going to have over time is redefining health in the American home and changing the way that we think about it so that our children and our grandchildren can reap the benefits of how we can teach them how to live.
All right, so tomorrow we're going to take a look at more proactive things, sort of some of the stuff you've shown me, some of the stuff you and I are doing right now, some of the new stuff you have going on. But as we wrap up today's video, let's kind of instead be a little retroactive. Common myths, people that are thinking, I've tried this before, and I'm looking at this picture of Steve behind you, these pictures, I'm like, holy crap, how did you make that happen?
Right.
And let's tell people how we didn't do it, because there's a lot of myths about this that I had to learn from you. I had to be untrained, basically, and then retrained. Right. That it's just as simple as calories in, calories out, right. Low fat, low sugar, etc., etc. It's right. Not really that simple, is it?
No, and well, let's put it this way. It's actually fairly simple, but it's not easy. I think the simplicity of it actually comes in breaking down and looking at a lot of the things that have changed in our society over the past several decades. The conversation of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats was a relatively simple conversation 50 years ago, mm-hmm. until now, when we've got so many different variations of protein, carbs, and fats. And when it comes to, like you said, a calorie in and a calorie out, that the equation is just that simple. And it's simply not anymore. A calorie is not just a calorie. And when we talk about, I had a burger for dinner tonight, mm-hmm. We could be talking about two completely different things. We could be talking about a locally raised, burger, or we could be talking about a burger from McDonald's, which mm-hmm. are really, obviously, on a nutritional level, and when it comes to our health, are two completely different things.
And that calorically, they may look very similar.
Sure. But
the devil is in the details, right?
That's right. And that's one of the things that I'm really excited for us to be able to talk about and share with the listeners and the viewers here is to begin to talk about some of those little-known things that many of us are overlooking and we've never been taught to look at, that are actually, those are actually the types of things, those details that are missing from all of those commercial programs out there that are making millions and millions and millions of dollars every year mm-hmm. on people who are coming back and coming back, who failed and failed and failed.
How many times have you heard from somebody, hey, I want you to know Weight Watchers works, it's worked all 5 times I've ever done it.
Yeah, I'm a lifetime member of Weight Watchers, and now I need help from you.
Yes.
And obviously I've heard that one before. So yeah, the common myths, I think those are some of the things that we're going to be covering over time as well.
All right, if folks are watching this right now, they have any questions, do you have an email address or anything where they can contact you?
Absolutely. My email address is jake@healthyforlifeuniversity.com.
jake@healthyforlifeuniversity.com. You can email me, steve@stevedeace.com. Maybe you can show me pictures of how fat you used to be or how fat you're not anymore. You can also find us on Facebook at Steve and Deace. You can also find us on Twitter at Steve_Deace. Tomorrow right here at stevedeace.com. Jake's going to join us, and we're going to take a look at exactly how you get beyond the myths and to the reality of living healthy. And we're going to do that tomorrow. See you then.